Okay. Hello, guys. Welcome to a new never-ending series of Bear Bowley Goes reviews various Star Trek things, because from this point on it feels like it's all Star Trek all the time.
Although we have planned to shoot something else
Oh, I
next
just meant in
week,
general
so
in life. Like,
oh
CBS
yeah,
has
yeah,
decided it's all Star Trek all the time.
yeah. Given the overall quality, I don't really have an issue with. And it's not like it's the old school Star Trek where it was 28 episodes or what have you a season.
Yeah.
We're looking more at 10,
First,
maybe
but,
maybe
but
30.
what we're reviewing today
So
is the first episode of Star Trek Prodigy, a show that was meant to
mm,
originally be just on Nickelodeon, later coming to like CBS All Access, but because Paramount Plus, which is where all this stuff is now, didn't have as much content due to pandemic-related reasons, they've decided to put it on both.
mm,
So yeah, Star Trek Prodigy.
yeah. Or
For start, now just get off. This is a show for kids. That is its target
yep,
audience.
slightly more mature kids, I would
I
guess.
like
Like
kids' cartoons. I mean, the same way that Clone Wars is a show for kids and Rebels is a show
mm,
for kids.
yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
mean, this very much has a feel of Clone Wars
yes,
to me.
I am I like kids' cartoons, and I'm more of a
Mm,
cartoon watcher, I believe, than yourself.
mm,
This is a very good cartoon.
yep.
Animation is spot on. Now, one thing that did strike me, and spoilers for Star Trek Prodigy ahead,
Mm,
is because of the nature of it being an animated show, this one could really dial in on that. Gene Roddenberry's like infinite diversity and infinite variations kind of
yeah, and it's
view.
got. I mean, it's computer generated as well.
Yeah,
It's not a traditional cartoon in the sense that Lower Decks is. Um, so it's got proper three-dimensional space in it, and yeah, it's for the most part, it's absolutely stunning. I mean, it's I think it'll come down to whether you like that particular aesthetic yourself.
yeah.
We mentioned Clone Wars before; it does share quite a
It's
lot
not as
with Clone Wars.
stylized as Clone Wars, I don't think.
I don't think it's quite there, but I think it's
But that's the thing
certainly heading in that
with
direction.
the Star Wars
Like,
shows, Clone
mm,
Wars and Rebels are both heavily. Rebels less
mm,
so. Rebels is stylized in the fact that a lot of its designs are
mm.
designed to look like the original concept art Ralph. You know, the original concept artist for Star Wars.
Yeah, Ralph McQuarrie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
While
yeah.
Clone Wars is a heavy stylized look, kind of, for want of a better
But
term,
then Clone
blocky
Wars
and
is Clone Wars is probably slightly different because it was a essentially a remake of the miniseries with the
it
mini
wasn't a
episodes.
remake as much as it was creating a new
um,
cartoon that was meant to be canon. I mean, a lot of people
mm,
really didn't like Clone Wars when it first came out because it wasn't the Tarkovsky
mm.
series.
But it does take some inspiration from that art style and then turn it into there is definitely
I
some
wouldn't say so
inspiration.
personally, but
I can see it. Like, I mean, it's not like b- blatant. It's not like, we're gonna copy and paste, but there's certainly some little influences. Whereas
this is, I'll be
this
honest, this is
feels
general 3D animation. I believe, is it
this is
made
general.
by, it's
I
made by
don't
the
know who
Troll
it's made
Hunters
by.
people, right?
That would explain it. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And it does have that kind of look about it.
yeah. And it's got that strange kind of. There's an odd frame rate for the main character.
You think?
Or yeah, I think so. Like, in the same way that they did for Into the Spider Verse.
Yeah.
Not as extreme, but it did look like the main character was moving at a different frame rate to the background.
I didn't pick up on
Um,
that.
um, I didn't have an issue with it because it made it slightly more dynamic. Actually, like there was I think because it almost looked like they hadn't quite like it wasn't the smoothest of
Yeah.
animation, but it was almost like it was like 22 frames rather than 24, Whereas obviously Into the Spider-Verse, I think he's all the way down at 16 frames, whereas everything else around him
Yeah.
is 24. So it isn't as like noticeable as that, but it does work quite nicely to create a certain element of pace
I
and an
believe
action.
we are in the which quadrant is it?
We're in the Delta Quadrant.
Delta quadrant, yeah.
They haven't said exactly where.
Some kind of prison
Although
planet.
it's a mining planet, which is essentially a prison as well.
Yeah, and there's
And
a
I
villain
mean,
in charge with a villainous robot henchman and a
it must be
daughter.
it must be far enough in to the Delta Quadrant because one of the first aliens that we see is um, a Kazon,
Yeah,
and of course their level of space travel is not anywhere near as advanced as some of the other alien species out there. So realistically, they probably haven't got that far. So
whoever our villain is
it would give you an
definitely
idea.
whoever our villain is definitely aware of the Federation,
Yes.
and
Yes.
specifically does not want his daughter finding out about them.
Mm. Which means there's probably going to be a similar message that we get in Discovery, and I suppose partly in Lower Decks, and we'll certainly get in Strange New Worlds about the Federation being this great uniter and this positive influence. And I'm fine with that. I think obviously this season looks like it's going to be about liberating that mining planet.
I liked the show's sense of humor.
Yeah.
I like yeah, I like the cast. You've got for want of a better term, our lead is a lad who just wants to escape.
Mm.
He wants to get off this planet. I do like something really clever that it does is acknowledging that communication is the key to unification.
Yeah.
In the fact that universal translators are banned on this planet, so no one can communicate with each other.
Yeah.
And without that, no one's going to unite and overthrow this despot at the top, right?
And the only people who have the ability to communicate with multiple people are the despot himself, his daughter, who is one of the main characters,
Yeah.
and this
the robot.
General Grievous type character, who's the right hand man of the despot.
And it says, I think it fits into that kind of stuff. Like, even if it's predominantly the least Star Trekky of Star Trek in a way, it's themes and motives like that make it Star Trek.
Yes, indeed. And I don't have. I mean, the thing is that like the Delta Quadrant is in many ways still the most undiscovered of the quadrants in the in the Star Trek universe.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously,
I would say this has got to be sometime after Voyager.
I think didn't we discuss this in another episode?
Maybe, yeah.
Where like I think we found out roughly what the timeline was for it, and I think it's possibly at a similar-ish time to Lower Decks, possibly a little bit later.
I mean, I guess the real question is where's the Protostar come from? Which is they find a Federation prototype ship called the Protostar.
Yeah, because it's an NX class, so it's a prototype. So
and it's buried on this mining planet asteroid and it's what the bad guy is looking for.
Because it's obviously a bit of a beast from the looks of it. It's a very typical modern
Starfleet vessel,
Starfleet prototype ship. Yeah, it looks quite a lot like the Prometheus,
or an advanced version of
Voyager.
Yeah, which was a.
I can't remember actually.
Intrepid?
But no.
Yeah, it's an Intrepid class, right?
No, I don't think so. But yes, it's got that look. Obviously,
yeah, it's an Intrepid class.
Oh, it is. It is okay. Speaking of Voyager, obviously, Kate Mulgrew is playing a version of Janeway.
Yes, shows up at the very end of this episode.
Yeah.
She is an emergency captain hologram in the same way that we've seen emergency doctor holograms, and I think the idea is that she's going to be training this band of misfits, which consists of a Medusa, who is incorporeal but is like they're in a robot.
Well, they sorry, because they don't have a sex. So they've built a robot suit, and they're like referred to as oh god, what something zero.
Fugitive Zero.
Fugitive Zero, yes, by the Despot. So there's a nice bit of mystery at the beginning, like who is Fugitive Zero.
They've been using them for torturing other people.
Yeah, or turning them into mindless drones. Because later on in the episode, because you see the little flashback where they're talking about. Sorry, I'm going to accidentally say she because it's a female actress that's voicing them.
Is it?
So, yeah.
I mean, we don't know for sure. Is my point. You don't know what under the assumption that we.
Yeah. Okay. So I will occasionally accidentally say she. I will try and say they. But they have a little flashback sequence where you see them being exposed to some people, and then their eyes go white. And later on, where our hero is in the hard labor section of the prison, you see those same white eyes. So I think
actually it's a guy voicing them.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. Angus Imrie, an English actor, played Merlin in that Patrick Stewart. You know that Joe Cornish can do Will Be King?
Oh, yeah.
Played the younger version of Merlin, like Patrick Stewart's younger form.
So there you go. Quite perfect casting then, realistically, because like it is a relatively effeminate voice in that it's slightly high pitched. So hold my hands up, completely wrong there. That's why assumptions are dangerous. But perfect casting then. And actually, I think the voice really suits the character.
Bonnie Gordon is the ship's computer.
Bonnie Gordon?
Part of like the LA Nerd team, big Star Trek fan.
Oh, okay.
In a musical duo.
Because
of course, you know the engineer.
Yes,
it's Jason Mantzoukas.
Yes, yeah. We spotted that last night, like as soon as he started talking. Because even though he was trying to hide his voice a little bit, like it's not as blatantly obvious as it is in, say, was it Loudmouth?
I've not watched Loudmouth.
Oh, you should. It's really good.
Not my kind of thing.
Are you sure?
From the trailers, I would say no.
It's got a hell of a lot more heart than the trailers may suggest.
Yeah.
It is proper gross out humour, but it's got quite a lot of heart. And I mean, a complete tangent, obviously.
This
now,
is
but it's very
cast.
well written. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Robert Beltran's got to be coming in it as Captain Chakotay.
Oh, really?
Again, I guess this is spoilers for future episodes now.
Yeah.
You got Daveed Diggs is in it, Jamila Jamil, Jason Alexander, Kate Mulgrew, obviously John Noble is in it, Jimmy Simpson, Dee Bradley Baker. And I'm guessing it's relatively fresher people playing the younger. But one thing I really liked was the fake out on the big rock person, right? It lets us lead up to us assuming like, oh, it's an angry adult, and then there's a realization when we find a
communicator.
badge on the bridge. That obviously it turns on the universal translation for them, and it's a little girl.
Yeah.
It's and that also obviously adds to the level of evil of a bad guy, right? We know he's potentially enslaving people more than actually being legitimate prisoners of any kind, right? And here's this child that kind of proves the point.
But then it's a nice little 1-2 punch, because you see the Kazon that we mentioned before.
Drop off
is essentially a slave trader, and brings a cat person, but it's a cat child.
And this allows us to see how the villain's daughter
has a level of empathy.
Yeah, is potentially a decent person.
But the thing is, I can see that character going in a few different ways as well, because obviously that character could feel betrayed by the villain's daughter, and could be twisted by the villain. So that could be long-term storytelling, or of course it could just be that that character's the first one that gets rescued before they free the whole camp.
It was a good and strong pilot.
Yeah,
and
very good. Yeah,
I like the crew. I like that we're gonna get more Kate Mulgrew. I like that, and I like that it's emergency hologram Janeway as opposed to actual Janeway. I like that touch. I like that it's playing with a notion of hope, right? The main character. I'm gonna guess it's not. I say main character. This is clearly got to be an ensemble piece, but the lad who's trying to escape. I like the fact that he never loses that hope that he can. But that's kind of what helps them, what lets them. It's like Zero points out that he's different to everyone else there, right?
Well, one of the mysteries that obviously will be explored is what species he is, because he doesn't know and no one else knows.
No.
So, which is nice, because obviously it's a new species to explore in Star Trek, but new lore.
What species are the villain and his daughter?
I don't know. No. Oh, actually, it is said, but he implies that they're the last two living.
Yeah.
So, which again is slightly more parallels to Star Wars. It feels very Sith.
It kind of reminded me of the species from Beyond, Star Trek Beyond. The one that who becomes a star, like one of that planet who becomes a Starfleet.
Yeah, I get you.
But we've got. I think it's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
and roughly as it finishes or during it, we'll also get Discovery. So our disco deck episodes going forward might be reviewing both a Prodigy and a Discovery.
Yeah, I think for the time being, we might double up on Prodigy episodes, possibly. I think that was something we had discussed, but we'll see. But yeah, it's a good start. I think there will be people who criticise it for being a bit too Star Warsy. But to be honest,
I actually think entirely convinced it is Star Warsy.
For me, it seemed that
I think where we're getting it feels a bit too Star Warsy. It's just that this is Star Trek for kids, and Star Wars is a franchise that is primarily for kids.
Yeah, and I think the thing is that I was going to say I think it's a smart decision too, because a lot of kids will have had their first Star Wars experience potentially through the animations.
Yeah.
So
there's a generation of kids who grew up with Clone Wars.
Yeah, and later Rebels, and now the Bad Batch and what have you. And so if you can make this aesthetically familiar, to them. Because this is going out.
Although it's worth noting that for kids who grew up with
Clone Wars, yes, are now.
I'd even say teens. Kids who grew up with Rebels aren't necessarily the target market for this either. Rebels ended quite a while ago, and Bad Batch is a show
but it's still
for
probably
adults
something
who grew
that
up on those.
until Disney killed off the Disney Channel, and like, but obviously it's on
Yeah,
it's on Disney Plus and what have you. So there's still going to be a ton of kids, and again, like you never underestimate the impact of like your older brother or older
but
sister
even we mentioned earlier,
watching something.
it's similarity to things like Troll Hunters as
Yeah,
well.
like I mean, there's and there was even a little bit of Ratchet and Clank in there, like especially the modern Ratchet and Clank with all the
Yeah,
beautiful graphics. Like um, the this very much felt like it was almost if Insomniac had started making a Star Trek game, I mean a Star Wars game, and then twisted it into a Star Trek game. It was like, and I'm not like dissing it in any way, shape, or
yeah,
form with making that, but like there was because I think all three of those things are fantastic. So I think the fact that it lands somewhere in the middle of
yeah.
like of an Insomniac property, Star Wars and Star Trek, like surely that
Also,
has to hit.
I do love that ship.
Oh, the ship is beautiful,
Yeah,
and again, I think that's the
it's a small
benefit of
ship as
going with.
well, isn't it?
It is quite small, yeah. But then it's a prototype, and I think a lot of the prototypes are. So the because obviously the Defiant was a prototype, the Prometheus was a prototype,
Like
and the
it
Prometheus
feels,
wasn't exactly a
although as a
beast.
ship, it feels like it's a cargo bay and a bridge. Like,
As a prototype, that's possibly all it needs to be,
I mean,
though.
it feels like
Like,
it might
especially if we
be.
find out this is a semi-automated one.
I kind of feel it may be the science equivalent of a Defiant,
I get you.
but we'll find out because obviously
Mm.
something's special about it. That's why the bad guy wants it.
Well, I think it's because it's a Starfleet vessel.
That is potentially
And it's I
also,
mean it's obviously technologically very advanced. So
yeah,
and remember, like the Starfleet doesn't have a presence in the Delta Quadrant,
no,
other than Voyager, which was a relatively basic ship. I mean, advanced, but not exactly a warship.
no.
And the fact
Voyager
that
was a science vessel.
yeah,
It was an
so
exploratory kind
it was
of,
the first one to use gel packs. It was the first generation of ships to use gel packs instead of just normal circuitry. So it was advanced technologically, but it wasn't like an advanced fighter. And therefore, the fact that Janeway and her crew managed to make such an impact in the Delta Quadrant with what is essentially a basic machine. Have you gone still,
no,
James?
I
Oh,
just
sorry,
wasn't moving.
you just literally weren't moving. It looked like. Um, so
Yeah, I
I
was
would
listening. I
imagine
was paying attention.
I'd imagine like I suppose the the reputation of the
Yeah,
Federation in the Delta Quadrant is possibly slightly higher than it might necessarily should be because of the impact that Voyager had.
yeah.
So you see this incredible new piece of
I
kit,
hope we find out
which
how the ship got there as well.
I think eventually we will do.
Yeah,
Um,
it obviously
like
is a post Voyager vessel because it
mm,
has Janeway as an emergency
mm,
captain hologram, and I
mm,
guess if it's programmed with all of Janeway's knowledge, right?
mm.
What better emergency hologram for a ship going into the Delta Quadrant?
Or any emergency, like because the
Yeah,
thing is, like
because she's a
she
captain
is,
that's had to go through one of the biggest emergencies a
yeah.
Starfleet vessel has potentially had to go through,
So
being
if you, yeah,
stranded.
so if you're gonna have an emergency hologram, like she's the one for every ship
Yeah,
because she's had to do a little bit of everything. She's had to do God knows how many first contacts. She has to deal with science. She has to deal with military aspects. She's the most rounded captain probably in Starfleet history.
yeah,
Um, and so if you can get enough of that essence into a hologram, then that is a hologram that will be able to see you through pretty much anything.
yeah,
So that's fine. But yeah, it's I think it's off to a good start. I imagine there will be episodes that you'll probably enjoy more than I will because again, as we said, this is aimed at kids.
yeah.
I think the quality is high enough that everyone will be able to enjoy it. I think this is certainly something they're probably hoping mum and dad will watch with their kids. Mum and dad who are Star Trek fans will sit down. Oh,
Yeah.
should we watch this cool
And
new
they're hoping to
cartoon?
pull in Star Trek fans like me and you, right?
Exactly.
And because I'll be honest,
So-
even if we weren't reviewing it, I would still be watching this.
I think I probably would, having watched the first episode now. Like, I think it's certainly high quality enough that why not? Like, it's like there's a really good production value. I like the aesthetics.
Yeah.
I mean, even getting like it's a big thing that they got Giacchino to do the main theme, because I mean that's a statement.
Yeah. It's a good
'Cause-
theme as well.
Well, I mean, only two of the live action TV series have had, for their relative times anyway, like the Star Trek composer writing them. Because obviously TNG used the intro music for TNG was the music that Jerry Goldsmith wrote for Star Trek: The Motion Picture. So they kind of borrowed it more than anything else. And then Voyager was actually written by Goldsmith as well. But Deep Space Nine wasn't. And what do you call it? The all the others weren't either. So Enterprise wasn't. Even the original series. Like Goldsmith was a consultant on the music, but he actually didn't write any of the music for the original series. It was someone else who then, in typical old school fashion, didn't get the credit that he deserves. But that's for a different episode. So yeah, I mean, I think it's like they're obviously going full in on this because that theme was fantastic. And then I can't remember the composer's name. He's actually doing the music for the episode. So interpreting Giacchino's music and taking that for everything else. But fantastic. It felt big. Like this was of a high enough quality that, much like Clone Wars released that film at the cinema to launch Clone Wars, like I think they possibly could have done that.
The thing is, as well, that film isn't even close to Clone Wars at its best.
Yeah.
Clone Wars got so much better than that.
Oh yeah, but I mean, it was I think the thing was, it was the first time that a product of that type was financially viable and also good enough looking to do as a TV show.
Yeah.
Because I remember when ITV did the CGI Captain Scarlet, there was such a massive fuss made about that, and it was like, for the time,
that was very good. That CGI Captain Scarlet was excellent.
But it was outrageously expensive, especially for UK television. Like, it was very, very, very expensive.
God, I love Captain Scarlet. You know what we should do?
What? A Jerry Anderson?
Potentially, but at the very least, a Captain Scarlet in review.
Possibly. Definitely the Thunderbird films.
Yes. Get yourself a month free trial to BritBox. They're all on there.
Yeah. Are they in awful letterbox mode, or have they put the correct?
Well, the film should be letterbox.
I don't think the films are, because I've got the video.
I think they are. Bear in mind, video wasn't necessarily how things were in the cinema. So video may have been put to 4:3.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm sure the films were, but for TV, Thunderbirds, it is unfortunately the 16:9 episodes of. You know, there is perfect HD remasters of the 4:3 Thunderbirds, and it only has ever come out in Japan.
So what we need is the Japanese import then.
It costs a lot. I've looked into it.
Or next time one of us goes to Japan, then we find a copy and buy it there.
That said, they farmed out for remasters after Thunderbirds, so the remaster of Captain Scarlet has been done well.
There we go.
I've got it on Blu-ray. I love the Captain
Um,
Scarlet end theme, where you had all that really wonderful artwork, and it's like,
mm.
Captain Scarlet, he nearly died, but he's not dead. Ha ha!
Or is he? Because he's probably just a clone.
Who knows? But it's that dark implication to Captain Scarlet, isn't there? Like, no, Captain Scarlet died. This is the Mr.
Yeah.
On clone of him that's just somehow been managed to break out of the programming.
Yeah. Because he is dead. Like, spoilers. Like, it's
It's the first episode.
It's quite grim. Like, so.
Yeah, both Scarlet
but, I
and
mean,
Captain Black died. And
yeah.
whatever came back is not them.
But I mean, that was the beauty of Jerry Anderson, and I think, to be honest, that's the beauty of Star Trek, that they mask some really quite mature themes in family viewing, and I think this new one seems to be doing the same thing. I think we'll get. It would be nice if it manages to get that balance that the recent She-Ra cartoons had. If it can hit that, this will be something very special.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't hit it, even if it can just get close to it, with this level of production value, because the animation is lovely. I think they're on for one.
On that note, as I'm getting some Kelvinverse lens flares behind me, I think we shall say live long and prosper for now, right?
Indeed, live long and prosper.
We'll see you next week with episode 2.
Yes.